The other day I asked you if what we're seeing from the Seattle Kraken is real. Well, they're going to have to prove it against the best team in the NHL and, according to a lot of people, including Dan Bylsma, the best pure goal scorer NHL has ever seen.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Happy game day, Seattle hockey fans. Erica L. Ayala here, your host of Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, where we bring you your favorite team, Seattle Kraken, every single day. I'm going to get into this one. It's a good game. Anyone who's got a ticket, hey, hang on to that stub, except those don't really exist anymore. Hang on to that e-ticket, all right? This is not one where Ovechkin is going to get history, but it will be on the road to history. We'll get into that. Want to let you know today's episode of Locked On Kraken is brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. That's right, the Seattle Kraken on a little bit of a streak. We haven't seen this from our team in a while. And of course, they're going to have to show their mettle, if you will, against the Washington, I almost said Mystics, the Washington Capitals, but more specifically, Alexander Ovechkin. We did hear from Andrei Burakovsky today. We heard, of course, from Dan Bylsma, and both talking about Ovechkin. And that is because Alexander Ovechkin is trying to reach the goal-setting goal. And that is because Alexander Ovechkin, he is within 21 goals from topping the all-time goal-scoring record set by Wayne Gretzky. That has been the standard for 25 years in the National Hockey League. The magic number, I guess the magic number for Ovi is 895. Again, he's not going to get that in this one game against the Seattle Kraken. And if he does, that would be terrible. No, he's not going to get it in this game. But the fact that he's very close to getting it, the fact that he's going to be playing up against some teammates of his, former teammates of his, Philip Grubauer, Andrei Burakovsky, who we'll hear from. I mean, it's kind of a big deal. And you can go to Climate Pledge Arena today and say you got to see Alex Ovechkin play. Dan Bylsma, and we'll hear from him a little bit later, but he basically was saying, listen, however it goes down at the end of this season, Alex Ovechkin, he's a real one. He's a real one. And I mean, you can't really argue. You know, these are some of the quotes that Kate Shefty got from Philip Grubauer. I'm going to read these from her article because we're not going to hear from Philip in this episode. We're going to hear from Berkey, and we'll hear from Dan Bylsma, so I'll save their quotes that Kate also pulled. But, this is what Philip Grubauer had to say. It looks like he's going to get the record, but he doesn't need to get the record. There's no doubt, is what he told Kate Shefty. He goes, he's so close, he's going to get it. If this guy comes out and he needs to score a goal, he's going to score a goal. Now, that last piece is not specific to the record, although maybe that is some of what Alex Ovechkin is thinking, right? But I love that quote because that's the moxie, that's the juice. That's what the Kraken need, is someone you need a goal, go get us a goal. If you are an everydayer or an OGer, I do probably a terrible impression of, what's the guy's name? He's in the Marvel movies. Anyway, he was in the movie The Replacements. I should say the remake. I think it was a remake of The Replacements. Anyway, yeah, Burt Reynolds was in the original one. Whatever. In the one with Gene Hackman and Keanu Reeves, he's like, Gene Hackman's like, go get me the ball. I'm going to get you the ball. Like, that's what the Kraken need. We don't have it. But when I read that quote, that's what it sounds like. You need the ball. I'm going to get you the ball. You need a goal. I'm going to get you a goal. And I mean, it's showing in the record books, right? Alex Ovechkin, the only one even remotely close to getting to this Wayne Gretzky record. 39 years old, Russian-born player. And Kate Shefty, didn't have enough words in this article to, I don't know, but didn't, I mean, there's just so many accolades is what my point is. And, this is also what Philip Grubauer says. Gruby goes on to say, one of the greatest, if not the greatest hockey players and scorers out there. In practice, facing his one-timer, it's a challenge every time. Even though he's getting up in age, he can still move and find the net. Now, Grubauer is one of 132 of Ovechkin's, Grubauer is number 132 of Ovechkin's 179 goalies. That is, he scored on 179 different goalies. Joey Daccord goes on to say, I hope it's not on there tomorrow, speaking of his name on the list. Now, I would imagine that Joey Daccord has a pretty good chance of starting, but, we'll see. Maybe to keep his name off the list, we'll see Philip Grubauer. Who knows? I mean, Gruby knows Ovi's tendencies. That would be interesting, although I don't know. But anyway, I just think it's really interesting to hear how hockey appreciates Alexander Ovechkin. And I know this is the Locked On Kraken podcast, but we're going to host him. And here's the thing. Like we're reading from these quotes, he's if not the greatest, one of the top 2 greatest NHL players. How will the Seattle Kraken respond knowing all eyes are on Ovi? And they pretty much have been for his whole career, right? You have to have him high on the scout. I mean, he is the scout, right? But this is a Seattle Kraken team, as we'll hear from Dan Bylsma, who knows they have to string wins together. 2 of 3, 3 of 4 is what we'll hear from Dan Bylsma. That's critically important. But also for me is the consistency. And I want you to hear what Andrei Burakovsky says about how the Kraken have been playing lately. You'll also hear a snippet of him talking about Alexander Ovechkin. And then coming up in the next segment, I kind of flipped these two. So sorry, I just got so excited to talk about Alexander Ovechkin. So if you're watching on YouTube, the sidebar says we're going to talk about OV at CPA, and I just kind of got into it. Coming up next on Locked On Kraken, I want to break down, okay, so we have this, okay, so you have a hockey star coming to CPA. That don't impress me much, right? Like, pull a full Shania Twain. I need the Kraken to pull a Shania Twain and focus on their game. But what is that? Have we established what Kraken hockey is? I think we're pretty close. And so we played a lot of clips on the last episode. You're going to hear what Andrei Burakovsky and what Dan Bylsma have to say about what exactly Kraken hockey is, as they have a pretty marquee game for just hockey history coming up tonight at CPA. We'll get into that and more on today's episode of Locked On Kraken. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken brought to you by our friends at FanDuel. From the first whistle to the final drive, FanDuel makes the NFL playoffs even more exciting. Right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $300 in bonus buckaroos if you win your first bet. That's $300 to keep the action going. Just visit FanDuel.com today to get started with $300 in bonus bets. That's FanDuel.com. Make this playoff season unforgettable with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL and of us here on the Locked On Podcast Network. Thanks as always for making Locked On Kraken a part of your daily destination. Erica L. Ayala here, and I spoke a little bit about Alex Ovechkin. I mentioned Andrei Burakovsky, his former teammate. Of course, Philip Grubauer, his former teammate. Joey Daccord, not wanting to be the 180th goalie on that list. And so I'm sorry, YouTubers. I have an unruly set of curls here. It's just, do you see what's going on there? Anyway, I digress. So it's just bothering me. Anyway, I want you to hear from Andrei Burakovsky. What does Kraken hockey look like right now? And do the Seattle Kraken have a hope of being able to contain that? And I think this game against Washington, it means a lot of things, right? This is a Seattle Kraken team desperate to return to the playoffs. You have to play playoff caliber teams. And right now, the Washington Capitals are looking like just that. 69 points in the standings, 32 wins, 10 losses. They have a win percentage of .734. Their goal differential is plus 51. They have 16 home wins. They have 16 away wins. Now, if you can get them to a shootout, you got a chance. Their 10-game streak right now, or their 10-game record right now, is 7-3, 5 wins straight. So you want to talk about sizzling hot? Hey, that's Ovi and the Caps. So again, you know what you're going up against. What can the Seattle Kraken bring to the table? Well, let's hear what Berkey had to say about it.
No, I think we had 2 really good games. I think we played good through 60 minutes. I mean, during games there's going to be ups and downs, but I think over the 60 minutes, I think it was good. We're working as a 5-man unit, and we're defending well, and I don't think we're giving up as much as we maybe did before. And odd man rushes against he's a lot better. So I mean, winning is fun. That's what we play this sport to win. So when you win, the atmosphere is fun, and you're having fun as a team. And when you're losing, it's the complete opposite. So it's been some fun days, and we want to keep having fun. So let's keep doing what we do.
Someday, if your kiddo is interested, what will you tell them about the days you played with Alex Ovechkin? With Ovechkin.
With Ovechkin? We had a great time in Wash. He's an unbelievable guy. He's a character for sure. It's a lot of fun to be around him, but obviously he's goal scoring. His sense for scoring goals. I mean, he's gonna be the best in the history, no question about it. And it's cool to been a part of that. I mean, I can tell my kids that I helped him with a few goals to get in the history book. So no, he's definitely a guy you miss being around for sure.
So, I mean, that's Burakovsky talking about Alexander Ovechkin. And I mean, you play with Ovi, you play with like a Sid Crosby, it's something that you remember. And so it's cool. We have some guys that know what that's like. But again, this game for me has to be, because the storylines are going to write themselves, right? Everyone's got eyes on Ovi. So the Seattle Kraken have to play within their game, within their discipline. You heard Andre, we've heard it from Adam Larson, Patty Beniers. Of course, we've heard it from Dan Bylsma. The team is noticing and is perhaps being rewarded because there's an emphasis on defense. But specifically, and we've talked about this before, I think it was in that playoff run. That's how we came up with the 3 Fs. Forechecking. Why forechecking is so important. Talked about it on the other episode. Mwah! Chef's kiss to Capo Caco, who also got it done on the back check. that set up that Schwartz goal the other day. Checking. But for the for the sake of our 3 Fs, I focus on forechecking. And that is critical to how the Seattle Kraken are meeting success. And in fact, being able to forecheck, it gets them downhill, which one of the other Fs from our 3 Fs here on Locked On Kraken, fun, fast, and forechecking, well, fast. Playing fast. This team is starting to pick up the pace, and Dan Bylsma has noticed it.
Questions for Duchess.
I just want to note, Duchess is Dan Bylsma's dog.
Here, sit.
It was bring your canine to work day, I guess, the other day.
Show me your paw. Paw. High five.
So I just thought this was cute. Wanted to show it to you.
I think, the word we've used the word connected a fair amount this year in terms of how we want to play with the puck and playing fast and playing north. And I think, it's kind of started with really our team playing better and better with our forecheck. It's been, an aggressive forecheck. It gets our D up the ice, and we're connected. And I think it leads into, our transition game. It leads into even how we execute with the puck going up the ice. Has, more and more pictures of being connected, 5-man coming up the ice together, and that's breaking the puck out. That's coming out of D zone. That's in transition, and it's led to a faster game. It's led to I'll say a harder game to play against over the last 5 or 6 games.
Here you go. Dan Bylsma talking about one of the 3 Fs, forechecking, and how it's led to being fast. Also one of the 3 Fs, but the connection. How many times have we talked about in the last several weeks? This team just didn't feel like they were connected, like they were communicating, maybe kind of some try hard going on there, to the point where, and we've heard this before, where players say maybe because things aren't working, you're trying to overcompensate, but you have to just let everyone do their job. So we're seeing that a little bit more. We have another clip. I'm going to actually play these 2 back to back, but I want you to hear, Dan Bylsma talking about Alexander Ovechkin, and also this Seattle Kraken team. What is the immediate future? What is the immediate goal starting tonight against the Capitals when it comes to the Seattle Kraken team? What is possible? And I'm not talking about, and we'll go over some stats coming up, because I think we just, know your enemy. We'll talk about that. But what is possible for this roster? What can they commit to doing to get back on track? Well, Dan Bylsma has a few thoughts. We'll get into that coming up on today's episode of Locked On Kraken. Today's episode of Locked On Kraken, as I mentioned at the top of the show, is brought to you by one of my favorite sponsors, and that's Game Time. I truly love going to live events, sports, music, theater, comedy, you name it, I'm there. And, I have so many great memories from going to live events, catching just monumental events live. Like I got to see the Foo Fighters. This was when Dave Grohl was in that throne wheelchair, right? And so I'm in Washington, D.C., and it just like certain songs that the Foo Fighters play, you almost want to cry. Like just the crowd, the vibes. It was pouring rain. Dave's like rocking out on this throne thing that like wheels out. It was so cool. But it's the memories you make. Like I was just with a bunch of my homegirls. We're having a good time. The rain's pouring down and we're just like having a good time. You want those moments. And if you can get those moments at a good price, Mwah, chef's kiss. And that's where Game Time comes in, especially a feature called Game Time Picks. The feature filters out the fluff, so you only get the incredible deals on great seats. You don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets like I just did to get some tickets for Janet Jackson. And the reason I did that and not use Game Time is because I had a pre-sale. I had a pre-sale code. That's the only reason. Otherwise, I would have been on Game Time, because you can take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download that Game Time app, create an account, and use promo code LOCKED on NHL. That'll get you $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. But again, create an account, use promo code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. What time is it? It's game time. It is almost game time in the Pacific Northwest, and Alex Ovechkin coming to CPA. Again, save that ticket, stub, e-ticket, whatever, however people get their tickets these days on Game Time. That's how. Save your ticket. Ovi on the road to history. We know that. Tip of the cap to him. And the Seattle Kraken are a team that is at a critical juncture. Do we need to win this game? It would be nice. Statistically speaking, we'd have to play one of the best games we've ever played, but we did it against the Canes. We've played solid hockey before. What I'm most concerned about, or I don't want to say concerned, what I'm most focused on is how the Seattle Kraken attack this game. Are they starting on time? That's been a huge problem for the Seattle Kraken. Are they being aggressive? What am I going to say after this game when I read you the post-game analysis by Allison Lucan? Am I going to pull my hair out, specifically this piece right here that my alfalfa curl is acting up today? Am I going to mess with my alfalfa curl, or will it be tampered down because I'm wearing the Uma hat? I think how we attack the game, the puck battle percentage, I want to see the Seattle Kraken win in the majority of the games they have moving forward. I mentioned the Washington Capitals, top of the Metro Division, top of the NHL right now. They have the 11th best power play in the NHL at a 23% clip. They're bringing an 84.5% clip to the penalty kill, which is best for third in the National Hockey League. They win about 50%, just a touch more than 50% of their faceoffs. I mentioned the goal differential, 3.55 goals for and 2.43 against, best in the NHL. We have a 3.17 goals against for 23rd in the league. So yeah, we got some work to do on that front for sure. If you are one of our Locked On insiders, in addition to me asking you how you feel about Chandler Stevenson, which I will read some of those responses, I also sent out a broadcast about some game notes that I thought were interesting. So now we are 3-3-0 against Washington all time. That includes a 2-1 mark at home. So, all right, we like that. Beniers enters tonight's game on a 3-game point streak, recording 2 goals and 1 assists in that span. And 1 assists, didn't need the plural. 3 points, 2 goals, 1 assist. There we go. For Beniers to keep that streak alive, power play. We want to see what the Seattle Kraken can do in the power play. Also, I don't think you can talk about the success of Beniers in particular, and to an extent Schwartz, without talking about Capo Caco. I mean, he's been great. And so I did have that episode. Can Capo Caco save the Kraken season? Well, maybe. Anyway, Chandler Stevenson. We're going to talk about him a little bit tomorrow, regardless of what he does. But he has points in consecutive games, including in how many consecutive games? For some reason, I didn't write that down. Well, he's also got a point streak going on. He also has 2 goals, 1 assist. What? Why do I keep doing that? 2 goals, 1 assist in consecutive games, including a goal in his last 2 contests. Philip Grubauer, 3-2-1 with a 2.53 goals against average and a 9.24 save percentage in 6 career appearances against his former team. I would love to see Gruby with the juice. So those are some interesting stats. Philip Grubauer against his former team. And Joey Daccord 1-1-0 with a 1.52 goals against average, a 9.39 save percentage in 2 career appearances against Washington. Small sample size, truly for both, but obviously a better showing of numbers for Joey Dax, who hopes to, again, not be goaltender number 180. Even if he is, what I want to see is the Seattle Kraken attack this game. And I agree with a lot of what Jeff Baker has here for the 3 essentials, or as I would say, 3 keys to the game. Now he has follow the new guys lead. Capo Caco doing everything expected of him and more. And I just mentioned that. The Kraken have been needing that. He's got 4 goals and 9 assists with an S since joining the team on December 19th. He's also reignited his line mates, Schwartz and Beniers. I just talked about that. The Kraken will take that and any help from forwards they can manage on a team where the defense has accounted for 20% of the 143 goals scored thus far, including, like we talked about that the other day, Larson and Alexiak getting on the board. Now, what I would add is, and I think I just said it, right? You got to start on time, guys. You got to start on time, Seattle Kraken. That's what I want to see. Don't leave it all to Joey or to the goaltender. Yes, Joey Daccord is so good in goals sometimes that it's easy to forget about helping him out. Hello! You got to help your goaltender. This is going to be critical for today's game. This has been Daccord's best month for save percentage all season at .919. He's faced an abundance of shots during that 29 or more in 5 of his last 6 outings. I don't think it's going to get any easier against this team that has a positive 51, goal differential. So you have to help Joey out. This is critically important, looking at the Kraken numbers, but also looking at what the Washington Capitals can bring. Speaking of, know your foe. I mentioned they've won 5 straight, an 11-game point streak. And yeah, Alex Ovechkin, I talked about him, allowing a league best of just 2.43 goals, which we've mentioned. Penalty kill, I mentioned. Logan Thompson having himself a season, posting a 22-2-3 record with a goals against average of 2.09. 925 save percentage. Despite his great start, Jeff Baker writes, Washington head coach Spencer Carberry announced that Charlie Lindgren is expected to get the nod Thursday. He has been sidelined with injury since January 10th, dealing with upper body. So here's a chance. You can take this how you want, whether you're a member of the Seattle Kraken roster or a Seattle Kraken fan. Do you take this as an opportunity to crack through, or do you take it personally, a la Michael Jordan, and say, oh, you're going to give us this guy? All right, watch me work. Watch me work. Either way, the Seattle Kraken have to impose their will on this game, because we know the Washington Capitals absolutely can and will do that. You're on home ice, trying to get together a few little wins here. Let's get it done. Speaking of that, we'll end the show, or we're getting close to wrapping the show. I want you to hear what Dan Bylsma had to say both about Alex Ovechkin, but also this stretch for the Seattle Kraken. And then I'll just do some housekeeping and we'll get you ready for game day.
I think probably the biggest surprise in playing him is just how big and strong and powerful he can be. And obviously, like, you can't go a second without seeing him in what we think is his spot to shoot the puck, and great shot. But it can't be underestimated just how big and strong of a player that he is and can be. And it's amazing to see him continue to do it at, now 20 years or whatever the number of years is. But he's whether he gets Wayne Gretzky's record or not, he's going to go down as the greatest, pure goal scorer of all times. There's no question about it. And he's, looks like he's going to get the record, but he doesn't need to get the record to be the greatest goal scorer of all time, because that's what he is. That's the mindset from our group. I think with the next 8 games, we have an opportunity to get us in the mix, and we've won 3 of 4, and we talked about 2 of 3 here the rest of the way, and we need, there's 8 games left, so that's if we can do 2 of 3 or 3 of 4, then the rest of the way, you're going to look up and find ourselves right in the mix of looking at, being able to look at the standings. And there's huge games coming up on us for. We can't overlook Washington, but we have these 8 games, and they're a big opportunity for us to get back in this thing.
HC opportunity. Let's go, boys. As was mentioned, big slate of games coming up. I talked about this the other day. Yes, you have Ovi and the Washington Capitals, but then you take on Pittsburgh. Then take a wee trip to Edmonton before doing the second part of a back-to-back at home, hosting the Anaheim Ducks. Close out the January calendar with a game against the San Jose Sharks. And why are these games important? Not only because, I don't know about you, but I want to get some clap back for some of these games. When some of these teams were punking us when we didn't have our identity locked down. But also, as you heard just there from Dan Bylsma, stringing together wins, 2 of 3, 3 of 4 is critically important for a team that wants to still be in it. There is so much work to do, but it starts with stringing together wins. Whether they'll be able to do that against Ovi or not tonight, I mean, again, he's a goal scorer. We get it. He might score 1, maybe even 2 goals tonight, but it's about how the Seattle Kraken respond. Broke down response goals in the last episode. That has been one of the things that has been fantastic to see the Seattle Kraken more often than not, even if they go down. Like we heard Andre Burakovsky say early in the podcast, it's not a perfect 60, but it's a complete 60. It's been maybe 3-4 games now where you can really see the Kraken focused on playing as best a game as they can for a complete 60 minutes. Sometimes that's meant controlling the game late with a lead. Sometimes that's meant trying to regain the lead in the middle of the game. It's been a little bit of everything. But the Kraken are finding a way. So why not tonight? Why not tonight at CPA? Hey, I'll be watching, probably listening, and I hope you, whether you're going to the game, you're going to watch, or you're listening on the radio like me, don't forget to hold fast and stay true. Also, a reminder, be kind to yourself, be kind to others, and loud and proud we say, let's go Kraken. I'll catch you on the next episode. Peace out, everybody. Happy game day.